All right, SABC senior news reporter Canny Maphanga joins me now in a studio to unpack today's proceedings. Canny, a very good afternoon to you. So let's unpack this then for our viewers especially. So today we saw the President and government bringing this application to the Pretoria High Court, essentially to delay the matter until those findings, or at least the outcome of the Commission of Inquiry is concluded. Just give us a sense then, and just a breakdown of what happened in court today.
Indeed, you're correct, Donati. Good afternoon to you and to the viewers at home. You may remember in January this case was launched by those families and survivors of those apartheid-era crimes. And we saw that as this matter played out in the courts, that we had an establishment of that Commission of Inquiry which would probe these allegations of alleged political interference in those TRC cases that weren't prosecuted. So we know that we're dealing with matters that go back between 30 years or up to 55 years back, where these families have been seeking justice for quite a long time and have not received or been vindicated in that criminal justice system. So what the families are saying is that just because there's a Commission of Inquiry doesn't mean that they now have to put on hold their constitutional damages case, which seeks to hold the President and government accountable for that failure to prosecute those particular cases. What you saw today in the Gauteng High Court in Pretoria was the hearing dealing with the interlocutory application by the President and the government, in which they argue that because there is a Commission of Inquiry, there needs to be a stay of this matter until those facts are brought to light, so until those facts are dealt with. So essentially what the families are stating in response to that is that while the Commission does its work, that's an inquisitorial process. The court has the powers to make that final determination, especially with that human rights question that is being brought by the applicants. So the courts can continue with its work, but we have the President's team stating that you can't have two parallel processes dealing with the same subject matter when one is intended to produce the facts in order to proceed with the constitutional damages case. But the families are stating that they've waited already at least 30 years for this kind of vindication. And for a lot of these cases that are being dealt with, Inati, particularly from the TRC, some of the victims have passed away. Some of the alleged perpetrators have passed away. And now the families are stating that they also too want to have this case determined while they're still alive. So they don't want to wait for commissions of inquiry that could take years to complete their work in order to be vindicated in this process. So they want to continue what they want to continue with now. And it's up to the Gauteng High Court in Pretoria to decide whether or not it will let this interlocutory application by the President and the state to succeed or not, or whether those families will be able to proceed with their constitutional damages case while the Commission of Inquiry does its own work with regards to the probe that it has been tasked with.
Very quickly, so judgment has been reserved. I mean, how quickly do we expect this, knowing, of course, the courts and their turnaround time, especially because the family is pleading to have this matter resolved as soon as possible? Yes,
well, it seems that there are simple issues being raised by the applicants, and we know that the judiciary does impose its time limits to ensure that those judgments are delivered timelessly. But however, the judgment is reserved, so it's up to the court to advise when that judgment is ready, and it'll inform the parties when that time does arise.
And all of the 25 families and survivors were in court today in terms of just the representatives?
Some were represented by that Foundation for Human Rights. So we know that at least there is that representative, because they come as a group applying for that constitutional damages case. So we'll see how that plays out, with the Commission also looming to give effect to the many questions that these families have with regards to what happened to these TRC cases and why were they not prosecuted within the 30 years that there was an opportunity to do so.
Absolutely. Canny, thank you so much for your time. Of course, that was our senior SABC News journalist, Canny Maphanga.